on the subject of redistricting. I have to say that I feel a little silly with my statement right now. I'm speaking as an individual. I think I speak for many people in my community and my neighborhood. You're not going to hear anything that you haven't heard before, and the testimonies have been pretty inspirational, even though I'm sure it's been a very long night for everyone. My name is Cynthia Gardstein. I'm a resident of Sutton Place South. I retired as the Senior Vice President of Stephen Winter Associates Incorporated, a nationally renowned architectural engineering consulting firm. My entire career has been deeply involved with housing and community. I'm not going to address the numbers tonight, although I understand the redistricting process and the guidelines established. I understand the challenge of drawing 51 councils relatively of equal size across all boroughs. I want to state for the record that I support the proposed redrawn map submitted by Community Board 8, which is attached to my statement, which I will be sending in electronically. I understand that in drawing council lines, there are requirements that shall be met and guidelines that should be met. I will be addressing the latter because I believe that keeping neighborhoods and communities of interest together should be in the shall column. The importance of community, especially within a large urban environment, is the magic that makes us feel as though we live in homes. When I walk around my neighborhood recognizing fellow residents, I feel comfortable. When I recognize and am recognized by folks in my neighborhood, I feel happy and secure. When I patronize local businesses, I feel good. All this defines community. We have each other's interests at hearts, and our concerns about neighborhood are similar. We have and use a community voice within the city. Obviously, the proposed redistricting will not change how my neighbors and I interact with each other when we're out doing errands or shopping at local businesses. But our voice will be diminished, if not gone completely. This on its own affects and undermines community. Surely, further alienating any group of people at this time in particular is folly. Please do not proceed with the plan which will rip Sutton Place and Sutton Place South and Roosevelt Island and various other streets and neighborhoods. Will rip us out of our current District 5 and move it across the East River to be appended onto proposed Queens District 26. By amputating our neighborhoods, we will be denied the opportunity to vote together, to make choices together, and will ultimately divide us. The whole point of local council is local voice. Thank you for your consideration.
And thank you for your testimony. Dale Nelson. Following Dale Nelson is Francesco Martinez.
Good evening. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Good evening, members of the
Well, no, you know what? Move the mic up because there you go.
Good evening, members of the commission. My name is Dale Nelson. I'm the director of the 161st Street Block Association between Riverside Drive and Fort Washington. I'm also a third-generation member of Local 580, iron workers who helped build our city. I'm here today on a thesis of please save the 160s. Nobody has talked too much about District 7, but today I'm here to talk about District 7. I'm a resident of District 7 living at 900 Riverside Drive, and I'm requesting that the redistricting commission save the 160s. Saving the 160s means that the lower 160s remain part of District 7 and then not become part of District 10. District 7's northern border should at least extend to 165th Street west of Fort Washington Avenue and 163rd Street west of Broadway. Washington Heights has always been the heart of District 7. Those of us who live in the lower 160s have formed our own small community, and together we have a strong voice. United, we have been able to elect representatives who recognize our collective power and focus their attention on our needs. Divided, our community will be overshadowed by the communities just north of us. I live on Riverside Drive on 161st Street. My girlfriend lives on right next door to me. She works at Columbia Presbyterian. My son works at Columbia Presbyterian. Most of our family do everything in the 160s. We shop in the 160s. We go to the restaurants in the 160s. So this is a very tightly knit community from 165th Street basically to 158th Street. In our last election, voters of the 160 cast their votes for our current Councilmember Sean Abreu. Because our community makes up a meaningful percentage of the vote, we have been able to ask our council member for meaningful investments in our community. Some of these include over $1 million spent for the Lily Brown Playground, nearly $1 million for PS4, over $50,000 for Riverside Senior Living Service at 99 Fort Washington, desperately needed repairs to the sidewalks from 160th to 165th in Riverside, a block party that this past weekend we just threw. The 160s can't compete our attention with Inwood. The borders of our district are always at risk of being left out in the cold, but that isn't the case in District 7 because our northern border stands strong and united. I beg you please not to tear apart what we have worked so hard to build. Let the 160s continue to stand strong and hold our elected officials accountable, and we have a voice in our local government. Thank you very much.
And thank you for your testimony. Mr. Martinez? Following Mr. Martinez is Roxana Giacalone. Giacalone. I'm so sorry. I know I was going to mess it up.
Thank you and good evening, Commission. My name is Francesco Martinez. I am a former Peace Corps volunteer, aspiring medical student, and a lifelong resident of District 7. I'm here to talk tonight about the importance of protecting the Latino vote in our city. Like many of my neighbors and my council member, I'm here to ask that you save the 160s. This means that at a minimum, District 7's northern border should extend to 165th Street, west of Fort Washington Avenue, and to 163rd west of Broadway. Councilmember Abreu and I grew up together. We attended the same middle school, participated in the same after-school programs in high school, and last year I had the chance to volunteer for his campaign. And it meant everything to me. It meant a chance to fight for someone who grew up in my community, who grew up like I did, who knew what we needed and would fight to get it like he was fighting for his very own home, because he was. You've had a chance this year to see what it's like when the 160s is represented by someone dedicated to our community's success. We're getting an influx of resources and attention, we're getting special events and long overdue repairs. But most importantly, we're getting to feel the power of our vote. But that power will only exist as long as the 160s compose a meaningful part of our council district. Carving out large portions of the 160 dilutes our voice. It weakens the Latino voice not only in District 7, but on the city council itself. It would force the vibrant community in the 160s to compete with Inwood and other long-established segments of District 10 for attention and power. Changing the preliminary maps by just a few blocks would go a long way to protecting the 160s and protecting the Latino vote. Do not weaken representation of New York's Latino community. Do not dilute the Latino vote or pack Latinos into a single district. Please do not dampen our voices. The Commission has done excellent work, and we are very close to getting exactly where we all want to be. So thank you for your consideration.
And thank you for your testimony. And following Roxana is Bob Berliner and then Joseph Hyde.
Good evening, Chair Walcott and ladies and gentlemen on the commission. Thank you so much for staying awake and being patient through these testimonies going so late. My name is Rosanna Giacalone, and I represent over 206 members of 45 Sutton Place South in Community District 4. We are in opposition of the preliminary plan, redistricting plan number 1 for the following reasons. The draft proposal violates 4 of the criteria set forth in the city charter, sections 52(1)(c), D, and E, and sections 52(2). The violation of those criteria result in districts where neighborhoods and communities of interest are not kept intact. The proposed district is not compact. The proposed district is in an extreme crossover district, and the proposed district is oddly shaped. Second, Here are just two of the many reasons why the preliminary plan does not work. Our communities would not receive proper representation, attention, and discretionary funding as a result of now a population of 48,000, which is roughly 27.7% of the 173 people in the proposed District 26. Second, we have a large senior population reliant upon the pocket parks in our area. Those are critical open spaces which would now be separated from the residents who enjoy them. What we propose, since we want to be part of the solution, as an alternative redistricting map, is the one that was proposed by Community Board 8. It would result in District 4 having a population of 177,446 members, and District 5 having a population of 177,176 members. This actually would work with the numbers that has been put forth by the Commission. So in closing, I would strongly urge that you reconsider a new map for us that addresses all the needs of the Commission, but also the needs of the communities. Thank you so much for your time and consideration.
And thank you for your testimony. Bob Berliner? Oh, is it Berlin? I have Bob, and I have Berliner. So, and then Joseph Hyde following.
As they say, better late than never. I can't tell you how impressed I am with you commissioners staying here so many minutes past the supposed 9 o'clock deadline. So given that, I'll try and be as brief as possible and cut back what I intended to say. My name is Robert Berliner. I'm a retired CPA. Spent most of my life working in Manhattan, various offices in the borough. Sutton Place has been the home of my wife and I for the past 25 years. During much of that time, and to this day, I serve as the treasurer and a member of the board. Recognizing the Commission's need to ensure that council districts reflect population and demographic changes, as well as to comply with the requirement of the city charter that we've heard so many times this evening, to keep intact neighborhoods and communities with established ties of common interest. Our board took a study of the last census as it related to zip codes 10222 and 11104. The 1104 zip code encompasses Astoria and Long Island City, the principal components of the new proposed District 26, which would also include Sutton Place and Roosevelt Island. This comparison revealed very disparate demographics between residents of the two zip codes. A median age of 48 years versus 38 years. A population 83% college educated versus 52%. A population 20% foreign born versus 45%. A per capita income of $148,000 versus $43,000. And a median home value of $999,000 versus $543,000. How can the proposed District 26 comply with the requirements given this disparity between the two locations? Wouldn't it instead lump together areas with differing, if not conflicting, interests, areas that don't share the same needs, and areas that require different types of city services, be it schooling, police protection, or others? Wouldn't the needs of the much larger Astoria Long Island City component of the new district subsume those of the much smaller Sutton Place, Roosevelt Island component. Would the proposed new District 26 be sufficiently concerned with safety and other problems that may arise on the New East River Esplanade connecting to Sutton Place? Or the congestion pricing issue, wouldn't it affect Sutton Place residents more than those in Astoria and Long Island City? The answers to these questions should make it clear to the Commission that the proposed redistricting plan for District 26 needs to be reconsidered. I trust you will do that. Thank you very much.
And thank you for your testimony. Mr. Hyde.
Sorry, I wrote it on my phone, so I have to call it up. It's funny because I used to live near Sutton Place, and the idea of Sutton Place being in Queens is super weird. But actually, I live in Hell's Kitchen now. I support the Unity map, at least in regards to Hell's Kitchen. I know it may not work for every neighborhood, but it does seem to work for several of them, and I support it for Hell's Kitchen. I do think it makes no sense to break Hell's Kitchen, a well-known neighborhood with deep roots, into 3 separate parts. The current proposal carves out part of Hell's Kitchen and actually puts it in the Upper East Side. Like, I told my friends that the East 80s is going to be part of Hell's Kitchen, and it just doesn't make any sense. If you ask anybody in Manhattan, do the West 50s and the East 80s belong in the same neighborhood, they would pretty much laugh. But aside from just that not making any urban sense, I'm also just really concerned that Hell's Kitchen will lose any ability to sort of protect or represent and advocate for our neighborhood. We've had a ton of issues with crime, homelessness, shelters. It's really gone up noticeably in the past few years, and in particularly in the past 3 to 6 months. And I'm just concerned that if you break apart Hell's Kitchen into these 3 proposed parts, however unintentional, it's just going to doom the entire neighborhood, because we won't be able to sort of address any of these issues that really go all the way. We've been on some pretty heated community meetings. The issues are just getting worse and worse, and we just need to be able to represent our interest and work for solutions. And if you break the neighborhood apart, we're not going to be able to do that. So I know that making maps is no easy task. I certainly don't envy your responsibility. I do think that everyone in my neighborhood generally accepts their responsibility to be good citizens, but those responsibilities really kind of only come to life by the borders that you're empowered to draw for us. So, I just wanted to reiterate that I support the Unity map for Hell's Kitchen, and implore you to keep Hell's Kitchen whole. And I'm hoping that we won't get gerrymandered into oblivion. So, thank you.
And thank you for your testimony. So now we're going to do virtual, and we're going to have a hard stop at 10. For those who don't get to on the virtual, you can submit your testimony as well. But we want to start with Ashley Chen.
Yes, I'm here. Thank you so much. Good evening, commissioners. My name is Ashley Chen. I'm a policy fellow with the Chinese American Planning Council, CPC. The mission of CPC is to promote the social and economic empowerment of Chinese American, immigrant, and low-income communities. CPC is a proud member of APA Voice Redistricting Task Force. CPC is the largest AAPI social service organization in the US, providing vital resources to more than 125,000 people per year in all 51 council districts. CPC has more than 50 programs at over 30 sites, primarily across the Lower East Side and Chinatown in Manhattan, Sunset Park in Brooklyn, and Flushing, Queens. We are here today in support of the Unity Map, which was created by a multiracial coalition as a result of deep engagement with community partners and is representative and beneficial for communities across the city. We urge the New York City Districting Commission to adopt the Unity Map, which demonstrates how district lines can be drawn to be fair and equitable for vulnerable and underserved communities. In Sunset Park, the Unity Map keeps the AAPI community and Latinx communities intact without diluting one another's voting power. These working class communities share common concerns around equity and resources related to language access, affordable housing, immigration, and access to benefits, to name a few. We also want to acknowledge that representatives who have served the 38th District have historically delivered and advocated fiercely for the needs of our most marginalized communities. In Bensonhurst, the AAPI community is currently divided into 4 city council districts, ranging from 17% to 30% in districts 44, 47, 43, and 38, respectively. Bensonhurst needs to be kept as whole as possible, which is done in the Unity Map. The 43% increase in the AAPI community population in Brooklyn strongly supports these two strong plurality districts reflected in the Unity Map. In the Lower East Side and Chinatown, we support the Unity Map, keeping this community of interest intact in one district. In Flushing, we asked the Commission to push the northern border to 22nd Avenue, which is reflected in the Unity Map. From a service provider perspective, it is important to keep our communities of interest as whole as possible to safeguard our voting power to elect a candidate of their choice. It is critical that we elect candidates that respond meaningfully to the needs of our communities across the city. We have continued to see the disproportionate distribution of public funding, community-based organizations serving AAPI communities despite our rapidly growing population. The Coalition for Asian American Children and Families, CACF, reported that organizations serving the Asian American Pacific Islander community received 4.37% of city council discretionary dollars and less than 1.5% of social service contract dollars. In the midst of this health crisis, we need to ensure that our communities receive deep investment and engagement, which is precisely why the redistricting process needs to be fair and transparent as possible. In order to prevent the dilution of APA community power and representation, we urge the Commission to keep communities of interest intact by adopting the Unity Map. Unfair redistricting will divide rapidly growing communities, minimize their concerns, and deprive them of effective representation for years to come. Thank you.
Thank you for your testimony. Next up is Thomas, is it Formiga? Barbara Carlin. Barbara Carlin. No. We'll try one more time. Barbara Carlin. Okay, I'm going to go to the next person. Mark Hornstein.
Yes, I'm here.
Okay. Yes, sir.
Okay, I think everyone has really said it, and at the lateness of the hour, I sort of piggyback on what Roseanne Jacalone and Bob Berliner said. My near neighbors at 45 Sutton Place South, I'm right next door. My name is Mark Hornstein. I lived in New York City all of my life. I'm 74 years old. I've lived in the 5th Council District of New York City for more than 33 years. I'm a homeowner. I'm on the board of my co-op building where I've lived all these years. We pay a big real estate tax bill. I won't go into that, along with 300 of the shareholders in my building. And I guess getting into numbers, I want taxation with representation. I don't understand the demographic logic behind making my part of the 5th District of Manhattan part of the 26th City Council District of Queens. I can speak to this with hands-on personal experience. I was born and raised into adulthood living in the 26th Council District. On 42nd Street in Sunnyside, between 43rd Avenue and Queens Boulevard. I was there for 25 years, young adulthood, aside from 2 years, 1970 to 72, when I was in the US military. I moved into Manhattan in 1974, but I continue to have connections there. My late mother lived there many years subsequent to that. That being said, I'm certainly familiar with the demographics of the 26th district as well as the 5th district. I'm now an active retired senior, and my needs have shifted since my years of living in Queens in the 26th district. And I've been content with the quality of my life in the 5th district, participating in local life here, including board participation in my cooperative apartment building, enjoying membership and use of the Sutton Place Conservancy and the Sutton Area Community, SAC. That being said, I think Mr. Berliner recited all the demographics of the district that just don't match with the 26th district that it's intended to be a part of. It's clear to me that the residents in my area in the 5th district have different needs and priorities. Given the larger size of the 26th district, we will be in the minority in that larger 26th district. So I question where the allegiances of the city council member representing that district would be vis-a-vis our residents in the Manhattan part of the district. It's just not a good fit for many reasons. We need to remain aggregated with Manhattan. It violates the city charter, as has been said over and over again. and it's just not part of our community interests. Thank you very much.
And thank you for your testimony. Karen Spiegel? Daniel Loud?
Yes. Hi. I will try to keep this short, just like everyone else has. Thank you for staying on for so long for all of us. I am a lifelong Bay Ridge resident and member of Community Board 10. I am speaking to you today to urge you to reconsider the aspect of your current proposal that combines Bay Ridge with Sunset Park into a new Council District 38. So I'll call it for now still City Council District 43, which is encompassed Bay Ridge and Dyker Heights, has been an important institution in making sure that South Brooklyn has a unified voice at some level of government. Currently, the rest of South Brooklyn is divided at the congressional, the assembly, and the state senate levels. City Council is the one level of government that we have left to make sure that these neighborhoods, which share many characteristics in common, have a unified voice. The same is true of Sunset Park. While I'm not from Sunset Park, I know that they are also divided at all of these levels of government and have continued to be so under the new redistricting that came from Albany this past year. The current proposal, which will combine Bay Ridge and Sunset Park, is going to pit these two neighborhoods against each other and dilute both of their voices in doing so. We believe that it's important to make sure that both of these neighborhoods maintain their historic boundaries. And I'm going to try and keep it short. So I hope you will consider that and consider keeping City Council District 43 close to, if not the same as what it currently is. Thank you.
And thank you for your testimony. Joseph, is it Bencasa? Bencasa? Is it Nalays? N-A-L-Y-S-E.
Hi, I'm here.
You're up.
Good evening. My name is Nelly Seymour. I live at 54th Street, same street as the Midtown North precinct. I'm a member of the Next Door Neighborhood app. I also host wellness events in the community under my company name, Self Stuff LLC. I consider myself a community and tenant activist and a longtime resident of Hell's Kitchen, as well as a small business owner and artist. I love being in the loop in my neighborhood, feeling included and like my voice matters. I'm honored that I have the opportunity to speak up on this issue. I am asking you to keep Hell's Kitchen whole. This means west of 8th Avenue to the Hudson River, between West 34th Street and West 59th Street. Recently, I've learned that the commission's plan is to divide our neighborhood into 3 parts, which means we'd be represented by 3 different city council members. At least that's what I understand. This sounds like an unnecessary change that will ultimately divide us further, making issues around housing, race, gender diversity in general, and small business development, all issues that affect me personally, harder to solve, as we now have to convince 3 different city council members to work together. The district commission's blueprint map keeps all of Chelsea in CD3, but splits up Hell's Kitchen into 3 parts, with 2 of those parts attached to predominantly white city council districts. And as a result, the representation of Hispanic, Black, and Asian populations in Hell's Kitchen are significantly diluted. We believe this dilution of minority populations violates the spirit of the Voting Rights Act of 1965. I want the unity map, an alternative map that preserves the diversity of our neighborhood and keeps Hell's Kitchen whole. It was put together by a coalition of leading legal votes rights advocacy organizations representing Hispanic, Black, and Asian communities. So I ask you to adopt the unity map for City Council District 3 to keep Hell's Kitchen whole and preserve our diversity. Thank you kindly.
And thank you for your testimony. Next is it Min? M-I-N? Alex Calafiora. John Keller.
Yeah, hi, my name's John Keller. I'll try to be quick out of respect for those still waiting to speak. I'm a member of Manhattan Community Board 6, chair of the board's Youth and Education Committee, member of the executive committee of the board. I'm here to strongly support, obviously, the resolution passed by Manhattan Community Board 6, for which I voted, and the concurrent resolution passed by Community Board 8, both in opposition to the proposed redistricting and supporting the presented alternatives. Most of my public life has been in education, so I'm here specifically for a moment just to discuss the potential impact of the proposed redistricting on 5 public elementary and middle schools currently in CD5 and very ably represented by Councilmember Menon. There's a long history of strong beneficial relationships between our neighborhood public schools and our city council representatives. It's just possible that Chancellor Walcott, even at this late hour, may recall that I was elected to Community Education Council for District 2 in 2013 and was part of the group of parent advocates who worked for the siting and opening of Yorkville East Middle School way back in 2012. The point here is that Council Member Jessica Lappin at that time was instrumental in bringing this fine school to fruition. Councilmember Ben Kalos played a critical role in its ongoing success and worked tirelessly with council members Garodnick and Powers to bring hundreds of pre-K seats to our neighborhoods. So local representation for our schools is critical. Councilmember Kalos also made it a hallmark of his tenure to assure the full inclusion of PS 217 on Roosevelt Island and participatory budgeting in the mainstream of Manhattan CD5, as is Councilmember Menon today. So we've been very fortunate to have Jessica Lappin, Ben Kalos, Julie Menon, Dan Garodnick, and Keith Powers, along with council members Rosie Mendez and Carlina Rivera in District 2 in our area, supporting our local schools. So I'm really asking that we keep these schools in their neighborhoods, represented by the elected officials in their neighborhoods, and I've submitted a written version of this. Thank you.
Thank you, and have a good evening. Judith Safer, and Taylor Pullinger. No, I heard one person walked up late to testify. Is that person still here? Because we're just about at 10. Okay, you can go. Sorry, somehow we missed you. Yep, do it now. Yes.
Okay, good evening, everyone. My name is Jessica Cardenas. I was born and raised at Woodside, Queens, and currently reside there for 42 years. This has been my home, not only to me, but generations of hardworking men and women like myself from Latin community. Many of my neighbors that reside here have lived and settled here for decades and have informed of a now changing grid. They are elders who have established a home which has brought comfort, familiarity, and life-lasting bonds. What will happen to them? Where will they relocate if the grid has changed? As of right now, many of the immigrants, especially in the Latin communities, have not been aware of the change and are wondering what will happen to them. It seems no one had reached out to the community to translate, especially in the Latin community. I understand during 2020, many people in the community didn't complete the census, and that was due to the COVID pandemic. The community, actually the whole world, was going through many emotional, physical, and mentally hurt with family loss of homes, jobs, and healing from the COVID. The new grid doesn't show much diversity as the immigrants are moved away from District 26. I am against the rezoning of District 26. I have done research on the plans that Innovation Queens Project have for our district, and I know that we, the community, have requested a hospital. I've also been doing my research on the new buildings that Innovation Queens Project will be installing in this district, and there is no hospital noted in the plan. I believe that rezoning in district and adding parts of Manhattan to our district is the way to give people of District 26 access to the hospital and parts of Manhattan that will now become District 26. I believe that for Innovation Queens Project to withhold their promise to the community members of presenting as in a hospital, would be insufficient in the way because it would just be us using a hospital that belongs to another district instead of Innovation Queens Project keeping the promise and create in a hospital in their plan for the people in the community of District 26. I think that withholding the plans the Innovation Queens said they have should follow through with their promise to the people in the community and give us an adequate hospital within the new structure that they're going to build, instead of having us use the hospital that belongs to another district. I am against the rezoning. Leave District 26 as it is. Also, don't use rezoning to cop out on your promises to the people of the community. Thank you.
And thank you for your testimony. And let me thank all of you, to the commissioners. Thank you very much. Thank you for your involvement, your engagement, and it's the next step. I'm sorry. Go ahead. Well, by all means.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Thank you, Chair. My name is Lo Vandervalk. I represent Carnegie Hall. Sorry for that.
That's okay.
I represent Carnegie Hall Neighbors in the Upper East Side, and our catchment area, we're a not-for-profit quality of life and historic preservation organization. We often speak out on zoning matters, and we encompass, our catchment area encompasses the northwest sliver of Manhattan District 5. We're very much opposed to this, the preliminary plans that are before you, and we agree very much with the Community Board 8 letter to this commission of July 25. We think that the creating a cross-borough district nullifies several key recommendations of the city charter. It fails to keep the neighborhoods intact. It fails to keep the district compact. It creates a two-borough crossover district that is oddly shaped. And two specifics come to mind. Hunter College at 68th and Lexington will actually be split in half. One half in the new 26 and one half in Manhattan District 5. And also Roosevelt Island will be taken away from Manhattan District 5. Roosevelt Island has always been a part of Manhattan and should remain so. So finally, I think I would like to recommend that you take a close look at the proposed alternative proposed by Community Board 8, which was very thoughtfully done and creates equal populations for their districts and keeps the Manhattan portion in Manhattan and the Queens portion in Queens. Thank you so much.
And thank you for your testimony. And thank you all. Get home safely and have a good night. We'll be getting back to you soon.